אשרי הגפרור שנשרף והצית להבות. אשרי הלהבה שבהרה בסתרי לבבות. אשרי הלבבות שידעו לחדול בכבוד. אשרי הגפרור שנשרף והצית להבות.
Thank you, Cantor. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are Teach the Shoah, and this is Light from the Darkness, a ritual for Holocaust remembrance. If you have the book, we'll be starting on page 2. If you don't worry. We will put all of it up on the screen for you. As with all Jewish ceremonies, this is a participatory event. Please join us in the readings and rituals as much as you are able, and feel free to add your thoughts to the chat at any time. We have been broken. Part of us will always be broken. We gather each precious shard and piece them together to create a new vessel that will hold our love and our pain. We find that we are somehow whole and broken at the same time. We discover glimmers of holiness in the cracks, for it is through these jagged windows that we see the path to building a better world. There is more to a broken vessel than the hammer that shattered it. Read with me. Even when we are enveloped by evil, we hold on to our humanity and our faith. We emerge as a Jewish people strengthened in our resolve to remain Jews. The thread of Jewish life was, and still is, strong.
These mismatched candlesticks remind us of the resilience of our ancestors that they have always shown in dark times. They made do with what they had. They never gave up their determination to hold on to their Judaism. We take inspiration from their resilience and from those who found the strength to stand when standing seemed impossible. If you have candles to light them with us now. Please read with me. We light these candles for the light that shines in the hearts of all who fight against evil. For a single candle can both defy and define the darkness.
We begin our story In the light, we remember, not so long ago, many of our mothers and our fathers, our sisters and our brothers lived in the land of Europe. We were Jews of many different sorts. We were religious and secular. We lived in cities and in small towns. We lived in many countries across the world. We spoke many different languages. We were doctors and dressmakers, printers and poets, scientists and shopkeepers, weavers and welders. We were a warm family whose life followed a quiet, carefree routine. Our roots reach back generation upon generation, living there amidst friends, neighbors, and acquaintances. With this loving background, the years flowed peacefully. Miriam Yahav, Holocaust survivor from Poland. An ancient hatred, unashamed, was emerging from the shadows, but we did not recognize the approaching danger. We thought the world was evolving beyond such ignorance.
If you have rosemary or other fragrant spice, take some and smell it. The fragrant rosemary recalls for us the joy of the ordinary life. Say with me, we remember the sweet, flavorful life we had before the darkness fell. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, boreh minei psamim. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who created many different spices. If you have a glass of wine, raise your glass and say with me, we drink a cup of wine in celebration of the ordinary life. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, boreh pri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who created the fruit of the vine. L'chaim.
We must be watchful. When we ignore the rising shadows of hatred, they engulf us. We remember. Hatred spread across Germany like poison in water. The Germans afflicted us with cruel laws and humiliations. They did not care who we were or what we did. They did not care whether we were religious or secular, from the city or from the country, civilian or soldier, only that we were Jews. The Psalms reflect our anguish. Every day, they make my words sorrowful. All their thoughts about me are for evil. They gather and hide. They watch my steps. They hope to capture my soul.
Trouble begins not with fanfare, but as storm clouds building in the distance. We remember every day they keep issuing new laws against Jews. Today, for example, they took all our appliances away from us: the sewing machine, the radio, the telephone, the vacuum cleaner, the electric fryer, my camera, and my bicycle. Augie said, we should be happy they're taking things and not people. Eva Heyman, Holocaust victim, Romania. In the overcrowded ghettos, we lamented, I feel as if I am in a box. There is no air to breathe. Wherever you go, you encounter a gate that hems you in. I feel as if I have been robbed. My freedom is being robbed from me, my home, and the familiar streets I love so much. I have been cut off from all that is dear and precious to me. Yitzhak Udashevsky, Holocaust victim, survivor, Lithuania.
If you have potato skins, take one and dip it in the salt water. These potato skins remind us that in the deprivation of the ghetto, we ate whatever we could. The salt water in which they dip them recalls our tears. Please read with me. We dip to remember our starvation, evoking the salt of our tears and the hardships we endured. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'adamah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth.
We remember, even in the ghetto, we celebrated Shabbat. We found, however, that wine for Kiddush was often impossible to get. The rabbis ruled that sweet tea could be substituted. We drink this tea in memory of the Kiddush wine we could not have. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidvaro. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, by whose word everything comes into being.
We remember holding on to the hope that we might one day be reunited. We sent our children into hiding. A few were sent to safety beyond our borders. Others found hiding places with friends, neighbors, and strangers. As Mommy and Uma waved to me, I chose to hide my tears, and I smiled. I wanted to give them strength. Ruth Siegel Westmeyer, Holocaust orphan, Germany.
Throughout our time together tonight, we will be bringing you and hearing short stories from the lives of people who experienced the Holocaust. Our first story is from the life of Gerda Bikeles. Gerda was born in 1931 in Germany. In 1943, she fled to France with her mother, which is where we find her.
While most children were learning how to play games and what to sing and all of those wonderful childhood things, I was learning to be invisible. If I couldn't be seen, then I couldn't be taunted. Children couldn't throw rocks at me. Parents couldn't shy away from me and my mother as we walked to the market. Life in Germany, where I was born, Breslau, Germany, had been good up until I was about 5. Then when Hitler came to power, life became unbearable. My father left for the United States, saying he would send for us, and my mother sold everything we had and bought us passage over the mountains into France. We were in Lyon, France. And while we were out of the German way, it was just as bad in France. The Vichy government was cooperating with the Nazis. And to be a Jew was not a good life. So we continued to live quietly. Now, my mother did what she could to care for us, but a little child has to eat, and so she would have to go out and find us something. We lived in hovels, little out of the way places, little dark corners, because you see, we had no papers. we were illegal. So we had another strike against us, aside from being Jews. Now, in Vichy, France, the government there did have a special place where Jews could go and get coupons for food, clothing, or medical supplies, something they needed. But my mother also used it to meet with other Jews to find out how we could get visas to get out of the country. But it took a lot to go, because you see, every once in a while, when a Jew would go out to do the things that they needed to live, they disappeared. On the street one moment, gone the next. I didn't want that to happen to my mother. She was all I had. So on this particular day, I remember it like it was yesterday, I took her hand and I said, I'm going with you. Now I'm an 11-year-old girl, but my mother took me with her. We held hands, me giving support to her as much she gave to me. And we went into the office building where we knew the other Jews would be to give us the things that we needed to live. Now, the stairway up to the offices was a beautiful old wooden one, straight up and around. And as we went up the stairs, we noticed there was a woman at the top. She was cleaning or dusting or whatever it was she was doing. So we went up and we went to pass around her. But as we did, she made eye contact with my mother. They looked at each other, and without a word, this woman made a gesture that brought us to a stop. My mother grabbed my elbow, twisted us around, took me straight down that hall, down the stairway, out the door without a word, down the street, back into our little apartment, shut that door, locked it, turned the lights out, and we hid again. We were quiet, invisible.
Thank you. Thank you, Violet. Whew. We're going to do something a little different. I invite everyone to take a piece of paper, a little note, and on it, we're going to take a moment to write a hope for the future, a personal hope or a hope for the community. These notes, these drawings or notes represent our hope for our children and our faith in their future. Hope and faith may seem frail comforts, but they are steel girders that give us the strength to stand. As we did in the time of trouble, we now conceal our hope in a secret place to keep it safe. May we find it again at the end of our journey. So we're going to hide our hope, find a place to put our note or our drawing, and protect this note or picture until we are once again safe and we can reveal our hope to the world.
If you have an orange, take a piece now. Hope can be a sweetness that lies beneath bitterness. Hope for our children's future, that we can see them again, that this horror will end. Let us say together, we eat this orange whose bitter rinds hide sweet fruit, to remember that sweet hope can hide beneath bitterness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree.
Words fail as we begin to speak of the darkest times. We remember the Germans, with willing partners, murdered us in staggering numbers. Mass graves filled the forests of Europe. My heart shudders within me, and the terrors of death have descended upon me. Fear and trembling penetrate me, and I am enveloped with horror. Psalm 55. We were murdered without mercy. Mothers and fathers, children and grandparents, we were murdered simply for being Jews.
The Germans forced us from our homes into ghettos, into slave labor camps, and into death chambers. In our blind ignorance, we thought that deportation was a better solution. Fools that we were, we thought that the ghetto was the ultimate in abysmal blackness. We did not know that from here on, we would be severed and cut off from everything that was familiar and dear to us. We did not know that from that train ride on, we would be robbed of our whole world. Sarah Zelver, Poland.
Please refill your wine cups if you have them, but do not drink. We grieve as we remember the vibrant Jewish communities that were destroyed. If you have the name of a community that was lost, please share it with us in the chat. A cry is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children who are gone. Jeremiah 31.
Read with me. We spill drops of wine to remember the blood that was spilled, the whole communities that were destroyed. The losses diminished our lives as we diminish the wine in our glasses. Let these few represent for us the many. For each of these communities, we will dip our fingers and spill a drop of wine. Repeat after me. Warsaw, Sarajevo, Vienna, Chelm, Thessaloniki, Kielce, Riga, Wiesbaden, Kiev, Prague. And I will add on Tomaszów, Tarnów, Lublin District, and Łódź.
We pause in terror. Oh, excuse me. We have a moment before this. I apologize.
Es brennt, brüderlich, es brennt. Bei unser Ormstädel nebig brennt. Böse Winden mit ihr Gossen, reißen, brechen und zerblasen. Starker noch die wilde Flammen, alles herum schon brennt. Und unser Städtel brennt.
We pause in terror before the human deed, the cloud of annihilation, the concentration of death, the cruelly casual way of each to each. But in the stillness of this hour, we find our way from darkness into light. Chaim Stern.
We remember. Despite our enemies' eagerness to strip us of our Judaism and of our humanity, we continued to educate our children, to celebrate our holidays, to love and help each other. Although prayer was forbidden, we prayed in secret communities and within the secret places in our hearts. Our faith was the one thing they could not take from us. Rivka Wagner, Poland. Hidden between the bunks, we whispered the familiar words of the Friday evening prayers and found tranquility. I discovered for the first time in my life the real power and value of prayer and faith in God. I could feel my words shattering the iron gates and the high-powered fences, going past the hundreds of guards, dugouts, and watchtowers, out into the open, reaching towards heaven. Here I knew was a way of escape, a source of strength, and a means of survival of which no power on earth could deprive me. Simcha Unsdorfer, Czechoslovakia. In the ghetto, a young boy defied the bitterness.
Violet?
Violet, you're muted.
Pardon. From tomorrow on, I shall be sad. From tomorrow on. Today, I will be happy. What's the use of sadness? Tell me that. Because the evil winds begin to blow? Why should I grieve for tomorrow today? No, today I will be glad. And every day, no matter how bitter it be, I will say, from tomorrow on, I shall be sad, not today. Montala, a child in the ghetto.
Many have tried to destroy us. Pharaoh, Amalek, Haman, Caesar, the Inquisition, the Nazis. None have succeeded. In the Torah, we are commanded, choose life so that you and your children shall live. Join me. As long as that secret power is concealed within us, we shall not yield to despair. Chaim Kaplan, Holocaust victim, Poland. As we fight physical, mental, and spiritual battles, we cry out the generations-old refrain, L'chaim, to life. We continue to live our Judaism and not let the evil destroy our faith in God or in humanity.
Our next story is a brief scene from the life of Rabbi Sinai Adler. Sinai was born in Prague in 1928. In 1943, he was deported with his parents to Theresienstadt ghetto. From there, he was sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau and eventually to Mauthausen camp.
You know what tonight is? Tonight is the first night of Passover. Tonight is the night that we're supposed to know we are commanded by God to remember the Exodus from Egypt, to read the Haggadah and tell the story and celebrate ourselves as people, celebrate who we are as a people, as Jews. Last year I was in the ghetto with my family, and we had a Seder. Well, of sorts. It was during the day because you couldn't light candles at night, and we had sweet tea instead of wine because you couldn't get wine. But we had matzah, and we told the story, and we read the Haggadah, and we sang songs, and we were together. That's what Passover is supposed to be about. Drinking wine and eating matzah and telling the story of our escape from slavery. But not here, not in the camps, not in this place where we are, once again, slaves. But I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget who we are, who I am as a Jew. I don't want to let this night go unmarked. Will you walk with me? So we have a walking Seder. We walk and we remember as much of the Haggadah as we can. And for one moment in this place where our bodies are enslaved, our minds are free.
If you have fruit with pits, take one and join me. Let us say together, these fruits with their unbreakable inner core represent our inner strength. They are a tangible token of the power to resist. We eat these fruits so that we may gain courage from our ancestors to find our inner strength in difficult times. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree.
How do we stay hopeful when people are capable of such great evil? A few good people recognized the evil for what it was. They risked their lives to help us. They hid friends, neighbors, and strangers from the eyes of those who would harm us. In almost every survivor's story, there is a story of someone who helped.
We remember. Helpers lived in every country in Europe. They came from every walk of life. Some saved hundreds. Some saved one. They saved as many as they could, regretting only that they didn't save more. Having been their nanny for 14 years, 26-year-old Elizabeth Faggio swore she would protect the Abanai family. As the bombs fell on Budapest and fascist militias searched the streets for Jews, Elizabeth risked her life daily to find a safe place for each family member to hide. She saved us day by day Susanna Abanay, Asvath, Holocaust survivor, Hungary. With her partners at the secret organization Jagoda, Irena Sendler smuggled thousands of Jewish children out of the Warsaw Ghetto. She hid them in ambulances, snuck them through underground passageways, and wheeled them out concealed boxes and suitcases. She kept track of the children on papers, buried in glass bottles, hoping someday to reunite them with their families. Every child saved with my help is the justification of my existence on this earth and not a title to glory. Irena Sendler, Holocaust rescuer, Poland.
Our next story comes from the life of Vera Goodkin, a Slovak woman whose life was saved by Raoul Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat known to have saved the lives of tens of thousands of Jews.
Before the war, I was just a little girl. I played with my friends. I skated and skied in the mountains. The change was fast, or at least it seemed so to a child, all of a sudden. Maybe 2 weeks after the occupation in 1939, I walked into my classroom and one of my classmates called me a dirty Jew, a dirty Hungarian Jew. I was 8 years old. I didn't even know what to make of that. I remember that another classmate, just one, got up and said, "That's not right. That's not nice." That was my first helper. In Óbuda, in Budapest, there was an abandoned brick factory, and in 1944, it was used to hold Jews in preparation for these forced marches, where the Jews would be made to walk on foot toward the border ahead of the advancing Russian army. My father had survived such a march, so when a friend told me many years later that she herself had a memory of that brick factory, I wanted to hear it. She said she and her mother and her aunt were caught on the streets of Budapest, and with hundreds of others, they were herded into this brick factory. It was just a gathering place for the night, pitch black inside in winter with no heat, no water. They had no idea of what would happen next. Hundreds of people huddled in fear in this echoing, dank darkness. And then early in the morning, they saw this handsome young man in a long leather coat bustling among the people, and he kept saying, don't worry, I'll come back for you." My friend said she thought they must be imagining this. But he did come back. And when he came among them again, when they saw him, these 500 people who had not uttered a word all night long, they all spoke with one voice, "Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." My friend told me they said it not because he saved their lives, which he did, but because there was somebody who found them worthy of saving. That was Raoul Wallenberg. You have to understand what we witnessed, what we endured. It was like we were not even human beings. We were nothing. We had nothing. Nothing was ahead of us to live for. By late 1944, hope was very, very difficult to hold on to. And Wallenberg gave us that. My mother and I were imprisoned in the Kostarza transit camp in Budapest. By then I was 13. Wallenberg convinced the Hungarian prison guards to release the child prisoners into the custody of the Swedish Red Cross, and I was taken out from that prison to a children's home. He was my hero. My parents both escaped from transports closer to the end of the war, and they returned to Budapest. They were hoping to acquire one of these coveted Schutzpassen. These were documents that would allow you to move into one of the protected houses that the Swedish legation had in Budapest. It was Wallenberg himself who handed my father that pass. And then he said to my parents, "Also, we have your little girl." And he brought me to my parents. So we all survived together. Years later, I met Wallenberg's sister, Nina Lagergren. She approached me. I wondered, is she thinking if it weren't for people like her, my brother today would have a wonderful life in Sweden? She came up to me and she said, "May I touch you?" And she put her hand on my shoulder. She said, "When I touch the people he rescued, I feel his presence." My family survived because Raoul Wallenberg saw us as worthy of saving.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. We honor the helpers so that we may gain wisdom from them. We must always strive for the courage to help those in need. We stand wrist to wrist, hand to wrist, and you can reach out toward me and hold my hand. From a distance, we will help each other. We reached hand to wrist as if pulling each other to safety. Each person's decision to help was difficult. The risks were many. Would we have made such a decision? We cannot know. We cannot judge. In gratitude and hope, we honor the helpers. We draw inspiration from them, and we vow to never be indifferent to the plight of others. Strength comes to those who pursue justice.
We remember. Liberation eventually came. As the armies of the world moved towards vanquishing evil, they discovered a hell that left them stunned. As recorded in Daniel, it will be a time of trouble as has never been before. At that time, your people will be rescued. Let us say together, we must remember the affliction of our people so that no people shall ever suffer such a fate again. We are commanded to provide comfort wherever there is suffering, for you know the heart of the stranger, since you were strangers in the land of Egypt. How do we ensure that no one ever suffers such a fate again? We resolve to strengthen the world through our commitment to justice. We say, Leolam lo od, never again.
Let us read responsively. Never again shall we ignore the gathering shadows of hate.
Leolam lo od.
Never again shall we stay silent at the preaching of malice.
Leolam lo od.
Never again shall we excuse those who hate.
Leolam lo od. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gevurah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who girds Israel with strength. Never again shall we stand and watch while people are mistreated.
Leolam lo od.
Never again shall we allow groups of people to be separated and made unequal.
Leolam lo od.
Never again shall we watch a community plant the seeds of hate and do nothing.
Leolam lo od. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who frees the captive. Never again shall we think we are helpless to stop the coming of evil.
Leolam lo od.
Never again shall we forget our own strength.
Leolam lo od.
Never again shall we allow hatred to go unanswered.
Leolam lo od. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lirdof tzedek. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy through your commandments and commands us to pursue justice.
Question stands stark before us. How do we move forward when we have lost so much? Let us say together, we walk with a hole in our hearts and weight in our footsteps, but we walk forward. We are reduced, but we refuse to remain broken.
We remember, while the world counted their dead, we counted our living. Those who lived gave us strength to love again. In a displaced persons camp near Munich, Frania Brott married Boris Blum 5 months after liberation. Their hand-printed wedding invitations listed both their hometowns and the death camps they had survived. Their daughter, Tova, was one of many babies born in the camp that year. We did not know what would come next. We only knew we could not go back to the life we once lived.
We brought our children and our hope out of hiding. Let us once again restore hope and joy openly to our lives. Let us now return to our words, our hope, or our drawing, which is a symbol of our hope for our children. Return that to the table. If you hid a note, you can bring the note out and turn it over and write on the back, write a positive step that you can take to make that hope, or any hope, a reality. If you want, you can share your hope or steps of action you would like to take in the chat.
We remember, as we emerged from the rubble of our lives, we were united by an ancient hope, Hatikva, the expression of that hope. It is a song that has bolstered us in times of joy and in times of sorrow. It was the clarion call when we dreamed of a better life, a life of freedom and a land of our own, even while trapped in slavery. If you wish, please rise for the singing of Hatikva.
Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefate mizrach kadima Ayin lezion Sophia Od lo tikvateinu Hatikva בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים.
As long as the Jewish spirit is yearning deep in the heart, with eyes turned toward the east, looking toward Zion, then our hope, the 2,000-year-old hope, will not be lost. To be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. If you stood, please be seated.
With hope in our hearts, we step out of the darkness and into the light of renewed life. Let us say together, as it is written in the Torah, as we were all at Sinai, so we are all the children of survivors. As it is written in the Torah, and you shall tell your child on that day, it is because of what Adonai did for me when I went free from Egypt.
We say the Shekianu to give thanks that we have made it to this time and place. We say it here because although much was lost, we survived, and that survival is worthy of celebration. We drink a cup of wine to celebrate our rebirth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehekianu v'kiyamanu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has supported us, protected us, and brought us to this moment.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine.
Our joy in our survival is tempered by the tears of those we lost. They left no footprints, no fingerprints. All we have is memory. Let us say together, in this moment, we acknowledge that they lived. As long as we remember them, they are with us.
They are gone. They are gone. They cannot tell their stories any longer. But we can. We can hold open the window, this fragile window. We can give their stories wings. Let us give their stories a voice so they can fly into others' ears into others' hearts. Only we can tell their stories now. Only we.
The survivors entreat us. I ask you not to forget the dead. I ask you to build a memorial in our names, a monument reaching up to the heavens, that the entire world might see. Not a monument of marble or stone, but one of good deeds. I believe with full and perfect faith that only such a monument can promise a better future. Only thus can we be sure that the evil that overturned the world and turned our lives into hell will never return. Donya Rosen, Ukraine.
Our next story is a family story from Dvora Caspi, the daughter of Holocaust survivors.
It's 1990. I have finally convinced my mother to take me to Prague, where she had grown up. It is 50 years since she was last there. We are at the home of her cousin, Gerta Schlesserova, who survived Auschwitz and was the messenger in 1945 to tell my mother that she was the only survivor. She is now our hostess, and we are at her home, and Mom and Gerta are chit-chatting and smiling in German, which was the language they spoke together in pre-war Prague. I, meanwhile, am looking around at the checked glass in Gerta's house. We get ready to go over to the Prague Jewish Cemetery, where Mom's grandfather, Emanuel Schlosser, my great-grandfather, is buried. We take a short drive over and start walking. At first, we see the gravestone of David and Rosa Schlosser, Emanuel's parents. Then we see Emanuel Schlosser's gravestone, my mom's grandfather. We look carefully. We see something unexpected. We see 15 names engraved on Emanuel's stone. It is the 15 names of my parents, of my mother's family, who were murdered in the Holocaust between 1942 and 1944. We see Teresa Schlosserova, Mom's grandmother, who died in Terezin and was killed in Terezin in 1942. We see Ida and Fritz Eidlitz, who were murdered in Treblinka in 1942. Then we see Ida's brother, Oskar Schlosser, and his family, and Gerd Schlosser, who was Gerta's husband. And she is seeing this for the first time. And we see Victor Schlosser. And his daughter Herta. And there's 10-year-old Hansi, who had been such a joy in the old days when we enjoyed each other's company in Emanuel and Teresa's home in Prague. Their names are here. Even though they were murdered in the brutal way that they were murdered, without names, they are now here, engraved on great-grandfather Emmanuel's gravestone in the Prague Jewish Cemetery, connected to family, connected to the community that they so loved. And look, there's a bench and a tree, a place to grieve, a place not only for Mom and me to grieve and Gerta, but a place for generations to come, my children, my grandchildren, for the future, a place to remember.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dvora, for sharing your family story with us. Let us remember them as they lived. As we contemplate their pictures, we mourn the stories cut short, the hopes and the dreams lost. We speak their names so they will not be forgotten. Some people in these photos are not named, reminding us that although some stories are lost, we still acknowledge the people who live them. For these, we simply say unknown. If you have names of the lost you would like us to read, please put them in the chat. If you wish, you may rise with us for the reading of the names.
Lorika Liebman, Bela Rodnyansky, Boris Zaitin, Maria Zaitin, unknown. Hanna Joskowitz, Junia Joskowitz, Gabor Neumann, Joseph Brudo, Zvi Sigal.
Henrik Svark, Aaron Goldman Budner, Maria Koblik, Marguerite Jacobi, Heinrich Jacobi, Ellie Weiss, Helga Ham, Arthur Rubin, Trude Rubin, William Wolf Zeev Cohn. Let us pause for a moment of silent reflection.
אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. ואף על פי שיתמנע אחכה לו בכל יום שיבוא, ואף על פי שיתמנע אחכה לו בכל יום שיבוא. אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח אני מאמין, ואף על פי שיתממע, עם כל זה אני מאמין.
If you wish, please remain standing for the Kaddish. If you have a yahrzeit candle, light it with me now. My yahrzeit candles are actually kind of special. They come from an organization that puts the names of people who were lost on the yahrzeit candle. This one says, Asher Perlmutter, 1912 to 1942, son of Bila and Baruch, carpenter. Place where he perished is unknown. And I want to read from the chat before I light this, from Beth, some additional names. Dora, Henry, and Ditto Bretholtz, Yehiel Mintzberg, and David Berger. So I'm going to light this candle. We did not die alone. We say Kaddish not only for our own dead, but also for the many who were targeted alongside us. Romani people, gay people, those with disabilities, and voices of resistance, all murdered in the great silencing of speech and opposition and diversity. We feel their loss as we gather and mourn our own immeasurable losses. Please join us in the reading of the Kaddish.
Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma Dvora Caspi v'yamlich malachute. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'maromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
May the one who brings peace around the world bring peace to all of us and to all who mourn. Amen.
We remember in the starving times, we dreamed of cooking in the kitchens of home. In the aftermath, when we contemplated all that had been lost, it was the recipes of those lost kitchens that comforted us.
We reached out and touched nothing, so we turned inward instead. Our memories kept us moving forward, our memories of home and of bread. We cannot return home, it's rubble. We cannot hold family, they're gone. But today we will have dumplings, and tomorrow we will live on.
Our final story of the evening is a story of solidarity from Yehudit Aufrichtig, a survivor of Ravensbrück.
Every evening, Judith would return with the other women who worked with her at the Sims factory to her barracks, where all the women received their piece of bread with margarine and some form of colored liquid. Some days it was called soup, some days it was called coffee. Judith and her friend Edith Gumbusch, along with the other women in their barracks, they would sit down every evening, and while they were eating their bread with the marge, they would talk about the food that they used to eat before, what kind of meals they used to have, and how they would prepare them. One day, Edith and Judith decided they were going to steal one of the big paper sacks from the Sims factory. And they did. They snuck it back into the barracks, and then they cut it up into smaller pieces of paper. The following day, Judith exchanged her piece of bread for a needle and thread. And the day after that, Edith, she changed her piece of bread for a small pencil. And the women gathered together in the barracks, drinking that brown liquid, coffee, soup, whatever. And they started writing on these small pieces of paper that they were sewn together into a small booklet. They wrote the recipes. One day, Edith fell ill, and she was sent to the infirmary at the camp at Ravensbrück. And that evening, Edith created a very small envelope from leftover paper that she stole again from the Sims factory. And she smuggled this envelope to Judith at the infirmary. And inside was a letter. Dear Yuli, I'm so sorry we didn't spend the day together in our great hall where we dined, all of us together, so that you could enjoy the menu that we had. If you just imagine it, I'll tell you what we had. In the morning, we had curd salad breakfast with a bit of butter and eggs and cheese and jam. At 10 o'clock, we had yogurt and langosh and small radishes. For lunch, we had potato soup with cream and bay leaves. We also had asparagus and cream with breadcrumbs on the top, a fried egg, an ox's tail in tomato sauce with macaronis, and then fried apples in vanilla sauce. For tea, we had hot cocoa with cream and almond challah and honey cake. For dinner, we had brain marrow, fried potatoes with onion, salad and green onions, and a small coffee biscuit with black coffee and fruit. With Carly, we ate everything. and we were so full. We ate it all, and all that was left was this one piece of bread, which I'm sending to you with this letter.
From the abundance of our brightest lives to the sharing of scraps in the darkest times, communities rise with the sharing of bread. Our ancestors understood this. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are needy come and celebrate with us. Passover Haggadah. Let us take up that call to share our friendship with all who are in need. If you have bread, please bring it out now. As we break bread together, we give thanks for our survival, acknowledging that we are no more deserving than those who did not survive. We celebrate the Jewish community that continues to thrive and the community we have created between us here today. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth.
Awaken, awaken, put on your strength, O Zion. We awaken to a world where human beings have done unfathomable evil to each other, to us. What do we do now? We weep and ask, how do we go on living after such a loss?
We are commanded to choose life. We remember that our ancestors held on to love and life and hope, even in the hardest times. We know that the thread of Jewish life is strong. As survivors say, grandchildren are the best revenge.
Overwhelmed by the enormity of the story, we whisper, I do not want to hear anymore.
We draw inward to comfort one another, and yet we know ignoring evil only allows it to grow. Despite our unease, we choose not to be blind. We choose awareness because we recognize that evil does not need our help, just our indifference. Hans Lernbach, Germany.
We cry out in anger. How could this happen? Where was the world?
We remember not only the evil of those who hurt us, but also the goodness of those few who helped us. We resolve to turn our anger into passionate drive to repair the world.
Awakened, we inquire, how does hatred grow? Can we stop it?
Hatred grows when we ignore it, when we allow hateful behavior to go unchallenged. We will not let evil hide in the shadows. We resolve to shine a spotlight on hate and make it clear that such behavior is not acceptable. We will be vocal, torchbearers of love.
Please read responsively with us. I pray for courage and for strength. When I remember the evils in the past, the innocent people tortured and murdered, I am almost afraid to make myself remember, but I am even more afraid to forget. Read
I
with me,
ask-
please. Oh, I
I
ask for
ask for
wisdom.
wisdom that I might mourn and not be consumed by hatred, that I might remember and yet not lose hope.
I must face evil, and so doing, reaffirm my faith in future good. I cannot erase yesterday's pains, but I can vow that they will not have suffered in vain.
And so I pray, for those who were given death, I choose life, for me and for generations yet to come.
For those who found courage to stand against evil, often at the cost of their own lives, I vow to carry on their struggle.
I must teach myself and others to learn from hatred that people must love, to learn from evil to live for good.
We recognize that despite our best efforts, there is still evil in the world. People are still persecuted for who they are. Anger and hatred continue to seep into our communities.
Nonetheless, we proclaim that there is hope. We can make a difference. We can help.
Without justice, there can be no peace. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. Martin Luther King Jr.
To stem the flow of hatred, we must work for justice. For the work of justice shall be peace. Isaiah 32:17.
Across the world, we are many different people. We speak many different languages. Peace is a gift we can give in every language.
Salam, Haiwa, Shalom.
Irini, Mir, Changwa.
Fritur Asiti, Frieden.
Mero, Santa Pepe, Paje.
Hey, Samaya, Shante, Bizanzi.
We cannot change our past, but we can build our future. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love chesed now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Rami Shapiro. We must remember that peace and justice are not gifts from God. They are our gifts to each other. Elie Wiesel, Hungary. And so say with me, here at the end of our ceremony, we pledge ourselves to work for peace and justice throughout the world. Tzedek, tzedek, nirdof. Justice, justice, we shall pursue.
A day will come. A day will come when the softest sounds will be enough. When one lingering note, a delicate dance between two hands, a leaf spinning in the breeze. When one ringing bell, when one whispered poem will be enough to awaken each person from that which is concealed, to bless this holy human with wisdom that bursts from the sacred well of justice, from the sweet, hearty, bubbling, subterranean spring that nourishes the tree of life.
our God and God of our ancestors, God of our fathers and our mothers, of our living and our dead, hold this people in your hand. Keep us safe and help us to find the sacred well of justice that dwells within each of us. Help us to create a just world for all people in all places. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our readers and our storytellers, Violet Neff-Helms, Tanya Wisoker, Lynne Feldman, Dvora Caspi, and Jennifer Zunikoff. Thank you to Cantor Faith Steinsnyder for providing the music for tonight. And thank you all for participating. Please join us on Sunday and Monday for 2 special nights of history and storytelling, sharing their stories, liberation, and return to life. And Lynn will throw the links for these in the chat in case you want to sign up now. Good night.
Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rish rush shel hamayim, v'rak hashamayim, tfilat ha'adam, hachol v'hayam, rish rush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim.